Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a game that defined a generation, The Elder Scrolls IV, Oblivion. But not just any version, we're talking about Oblivion Remastered, and more specifically, the absolute best weapons you can get your hands on. If you've ever wandered through a forgotten Ayleid ruin or stumbled into a vampire-infested cave and walked out with some ridiculously overpowered blade, then you know what I'm talking about. That feeling of randomly finding a weapon that makes you feel unstoppable? Yeah, Oblivion basically invented that vibe, and the remaster just brings it all flooding back in the best way possible. Now, I know what you're thinking. There are a ton of weapons in Oblivion, and picking the best ones is like choosing your favorite Daedric prince. But don't worry, I've got you covered. Whether you're just starting out and looking for an early game edge, or you're knee-deep in endgame content slicing through Daedra like butter, we're going to cover a little bit of everything. This list is all about the weapons that make you stop and say, okay, yeah, this was worth the dungeon full of skeletons. So grab your best armor, sharpen those blades, and let's get into the best weapons in Oblivion Remastered. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The Sword of the Crusader is one of those weapons that makes you feel like you are actually carrying out divine justice. It is part of the Knights of the Nine downloadable content set. And while it might not have the flashiest stats compared to endgame gear, it holds up surprisingly well, especially if you grab it early on. For players who enjoy role-playing as a true hero of Cyrodiil, this sword is practically made for you. It looks amazing, hits hard, and most importantly, makes you feel like a real knight on a noble mission. That being said, there is a bit of a catch. This weapon does not like it when you misbehave. If your character gains any infamy points, the Sword of the Crusader becomes unusable. Yes? Really. That means if you so much as sneak into the wrong house or punch someone in the face just for fun, say goodbye to your holy blade. So, if you plan on joining more morally questionable groups like the Dark Brotherhood or the Thieves Guild, you might want to hold off on picking this up until after you have wrapped up those storylines. Now, if you're playing a more lawful good character, maybe you are going through the Fighters Guild questline or just exploring the countryside and helping townsfolk, then this sword is an absolute blessing. It fits perfectly into that early to mid-game phase where you are building your reputation as a champion of the people. It also helps that the Knights of the Nine content itself is a fun and rewarding experience, so it all ties together nicely. To actually get the Sword of the Crusader, you will need to play through the Knights of the Nine missions. These quests have you tracking down each of the Crusader's relics scattered across the world, and the sword is the final piece you collect. You get it after defeating the Wraith of Sir Beric Vindrel, which is a pretty epic moment and well worth the build-up. So if you are looking for a weapon with style, lore, and a little challenge to go with it, the Sword of the Crusader is definitely worth adding to your arsenal. Alright, let us talk about one of the absolute best weapons you can get your hands on early in Oblivion Remastered, the Honor Blade of Coral. If you're anything like me, the early game is basically just one long struggle to not be over-encumbered every 5 minutes. That is where this beauty comes in. The Honor Blade is completely weightless. Yes, you heard that right. 0 weight. It is like carrying around a claymore made of air, except it hits like a truck. When your inventory is packed with potions, stolen silverware, and 15 wolf pelts, a weightless powerhouse like this makes a world of difference. Now, here is something that might surprise new players. The Honor Blade is not magical, and that is actually a good thing. Early on, enchanted weapons can be more annoying than helpful. You are constantly running out of charges, hunting for soul gems, or finding that your supposedly epic blade is just a fancy-looking stick until you recharge it. But the Honor Blade? None of that nonsense. It just works. No soul gems, no maintenance, no stress. Just pure, reliable damage every time you swing it. So how do you actually get your hands on it? You are going to need to complete the Germain family questline in Coral. It is a little trilogy of quests that starts off simple enough, just helping some brothers with their family estate, but it ends with a bang. In the final quest, Sins of the Father, you will face off against the Redguard Valley Ogre Chieftain. After the battle, check his body. That is where the Honor Blade is waiting for you. It is basically your reward for untangling a whole mess of family drama and surviving a pretty intense brawl. All in all, the Honor Blade of Coral is one of those rare items that feels like it was made to make your life easier. No gimmicks, no flashy spells, just straightforward excellence. It is perfect for players who want to focus on adventuring instead of fiddling with inventory management or constantly babysitting a magic weapon. If you're starting out in Oblivion Remastered and want a game-changing sword that pulls its weight without actually weighing anything, then make sure Coral is one of your first stops. If you have just finished the tutorial in Oblivion Remastered and found yourself falling in love with that sleek Akaviri katana, you are definitely not alone. There is something about the elegance and precision of those Akaviri blades that makes you feel like a true warrior. Naturally, the question comes up, where can you get another one? Or better yet, an upgraded version that does more than just look cool? Well, let me introduce you to the Akaviri Thunderblade, one of the most underrated yet deadly weapons you can get your hands on early in the game. Now, here is the best part. It is not locked behind some ridiculous dungeon full of traps, monsters, and hours of your life you will never get back. Nope! The Thunderblade is surprisingly easy to obtain. All you have to do is head over to the Imperial City Market District and walk into the Three Brothers Trade Goods store. That is right, it is sitting there on a shelf like it is just another sword. At the easy haggle level, it will cost you about 5,042 gold, which may sound steep, but trust me, it is worth every coin. So what makes this blade so special? On paper, the damage might look a bit underwhelming compared to some other weapons you will eventually come across. But do not let the numbers fool you. The enchantments on the Akaviri Thunderblade are the real game changer. It is specifically designed to tear through armor like it is made of paper, and it can even destroy your enemy's weapon mid-fight. That means not only are you hitting harder than the stats suggest, but you are also leaving your enemies helpless and defenseless. It is especially satisfying when you are fighting tougher opponents who rely on heavy gear. If you're the kind of player who enjoys experimenting with different playstyles, the Thunderblade offers a fresh and strategic twist. Instead of brute forcing your way through every encounter, you start thinking about timing, positioning, and how best to exploit its effects. It is one of those weapons that feels rewarding not just because of how strong it is, but because of how smart it makes you feel when you use it right. So if you are tired of swinging the same old sword and want something with a bit more personality, definitely give the Akaviri Thunderblade a try. Alright, let's talk about one of the coolest and most underrated weapons you can get your hands on in Oblivion Remastered, if you are playing as a mage, and that is Apotheiois. This staff is not just some flashy magic stick you pick up and forget. It is a real game changer once you know when and how to use it. Sure, you can technically buy it pretty early on in the game, but if you want to unleash its full potential, it is best to wait until you are past level 20. Trust me, you're going to want to let this one cook a little before going full wizard mode. What makes Apotheiois such a beast? It is all about that enchantment. This weapon hits with fire, frost, and shock damage at the same time. That means no matter what kind of resistance your enemies are packing, at least one of those elements is going to punch through. And if you are lucky, they will just melt under the combined force of all three. You're basically turning every encounter into a magical fireworks show, and you are always the one lighting the fuse. Now, where do you get it? You will need to make your way to the Imperial City, specifically the Market District. Look for a shop called Rendir's Staffs. That is where Apotheiois is waiting. It is not cheap though. When we dropped by, the price tag was a hefty 5,825 gold. But honestly, for what it can do, that is a fair price. You are not just buying a staff, you are buying dominance over most living things in Tamriel. No big deal. So here is the pro tip. Hold off until you are strong enough to wield it properly, then unleash hell. Combine it with some good magicka regeneration and maybe a few sneaky illusion spells, and you will be the stuff of nightmares. If you're running a mage build and you have not picked up Apotheiois yet, you are doing yourself a disservice. Go get it, and thank me later when the enemies start dropping like flies. Alright, let us talk about one of the most underrated yet surprisingly powerful items in Oblivion Remastered, the bands of Kuang Laau. Now, I know what you are thinking. Wait, that is not even a weapon. And technically, you are absolutely right. These are gauntlets, not swords, not maces, not even a fancy enchanted staff. But here is the twist. Once you put these bad boys on, your fists become deadly. Like, legitimately deadly. You are no longer just brawling like a drunkard outside the flowing bowl. You are dishing out real damage. Some players treat them like a gimmick, a funny little item to try once and then toss in a chest somewhere in Bruma. But others, they swear by them. There is something deeply satisfying about taking down a heavily armored opponent using nothing but your bare hands and a little enchanted help. It is like saying, I do not need your fancy Daedric weapons. The 9 gave me 2 hands, and that is all I need. That kind of confidence, and the results these bands deliver, make them a favorite among a certain kind of player. You know who you are. Now, if you are wondering how to get your hands on the bands of Kuang Laau, it is actually pretty simple, and you can even do it at level 1. head over to the arena district in the Imperial City. On the side of the arena, you will find two fighters, Branwen and Salith. They are locked in an eternal sparring session that never seems to end. Nearby, there is a chest with a very hard lock. If your security skill is up to the challenge, go ahead and pick it. If not, you have a couple of options. Pickpocket one of the fighters for the key, or, if you're feeling particularly ruthless, just take them out. Once you crack open that chest, boom! The bands of Kuang Laau are yours. Slap them on, and suddenly your unarmed attacks are not a joke anymore. Whether you are role-playing as a monk, going for a challenge run, or just tired of constantly repairing your weapons, these enchanted gauntlets offer a whole new way to play. Give them a try. You might be surprised at how satisfying it feels to punch your way through Cyrodiil. Alright, let us talk about one of the most surprisingly game-changing weapons in Oblivion Remastered, Hatred's Soul. Now, I know what you are thinking. A bow? Really? And I get it. Not everyone signs up to play an archer, especially when the rest of the arsenal includes massive warhammers and flaming swords. But trust me on this, Hatred's Soul is that one weapon that even melee purists start eyeing once they realize what it can do. What makes this bow stand out is not just its power, but how it turns the tide in combat. You know those annoying enemies that charge at you the second you step into their line of sight? Well, with Hatred's Soul, their charge turns into a slow-motion jog. This bow drains their speed with every hit, giving you the upper hand even if you are the kind of player who usually prefers to be right in the thick of the action. And the best part? The speed draining effect scales up beautifully at higher levels. So if you are the patient type, waiting until later in the game really pays off. Now, getting your hands on it is a bit of a journey. You will need to head to the Coral Oblivion Gate, specifically the sunken tower inside the Fume Vault section. It is not exactly a stroll in the park, but if you are already knee-deep in Daedric chaos, what is one more tower, right? Inside, you will find Hatred's Soul just waiting to be claimed, usually guarded by some serious threats. But hey, if it was easy, everyone would be using it. And while you are there, do not forget to grab Hatred's Heart, a brutal mace that complements the bow perfectly. It is like a 2-for-1 deal in the middle of Oblivion. So whether you are an archer, a spellslinger, or a sword-swinging warrior, Hatred's Soul might just change the way you think about bows in this game. Give it a try. You might find yourself headshotting your way through Tamriel in no time. Alright, let's talk about one of the most iconic weapons in Oblivion Remastered, Rend. If you have played any Elder Scrolls game, chances are you have at least heard of this frosty little legend. Rend is basically a magical variant of the glass short sword, and yeah, it looks as cool as it sounds. Pun totally intended. Now, is it the most powerful weapon in the game? Not exactly. There are definitely swords out there that hit harder or have better stats overall, but Rend has something those others do not. Style, nostalgia, and that unique frost enchantment that just never gets old. What makes Rend stand out beyond its slick appearance is how cleverly its enchantment is designed. It deals frost damage and applies a weakness to frost. That means every swing not only hurts your enemies, it also makes them more vulnerable to the next hit. It is like the sword is cheering you on with every strike. Yeah, hit him again, but colder this time. Combine that with the fact that frost damage in Oblivion Remastered is already pretty solid across the board, and you have got yourself a blade that punches well above its weight. Now, getting your hands on Rend is actually kind of wholesome. It is not buried in some ancient ruin or dropped by a boss with 3 phases. Nope! You earn Rend by helping out in a quest called the Killing Field. All you have to do is make sure both sons survive during the quest and boom! Your reward is this legendary short sword. It feels good because you are doing the right thing and you get a powerful weapon out of it. Win-win, right? At the end of the day, Rend is not just a sword, it is a symbol. It is a reminder of those late-night gaming sessions, the first time you discovered it, and how cool, literally and figuratively, it felt to wield it. Even in a game packed with powerful weapons and flashy gear, Rend continues to shine. It is one of those rare items that has earned its place in Elder Scrolls history not just through stats, but through stories. And honestly, that is the kind of weapon we love the most.
Ah, Goldbrand. If you have been playing Oblivion Remastered for a while, you have probably heard the whispers. This weapon is legendary, and not just in the lore. I mean in raw, face-melting performance. When we talk about the best weapons in Oblivion Remastered, Goldbrand is always somewhere at the top, and for good reason. It is not just strong, it is ridiculously strong. Imagine swinging a sword that not only deals a huge chunk of damage, but also roasts your enemies with powerful fire enchantments. That is Goldbrand for you. Now, I will be honest with you. This is not a weapon you want to grab too early. Sure, you can technically get it once you hit level 20, but trust me, hold off until you are level 21 or higher. Why? Because that is when the weapon reaches its full potential. The stats scale with your level, and you definitely want the maxed out version of Goldbrand. This sword was made for late game domination. It is the kind of weapon that makes you look at your enemies and think, "Oh, you poor thing, you have no idea what's coming." And speaking of looks, can we take a moment to appreciate how awesome this sword is? Goldbrand is not one of those over-the-top, spiky, cartoonish weapons. It has this elegant, realistic design that still manages to feel powerful and mythical. It is the kind of weapon that feels right in the hands of a true champion of Tamriel. Whether you are role-playing a noble warrior or just running around looking for the next big fight, Goldbrand fits the vibe perfectly. So how do you get your hands on this beauty? You will need to complete Boethiah's Daedric quest. To even begin the quest, you have to be at least level 20 and offer a Daedra heart at Boethiah's shrine. Once you complete the quest, which is actually one of the more interesting ones in the game, you will be rewarded with Goldbrand. And let me tell you, that first swing after getting it feels amazing. Goldbrand is not just a weapon, it is a game changer. If you are planning your late game loadout, do yourself a favor and put this sword at the top of your list. Umbra. Just saying the name probably brings back some memories if you have played The Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion before, especially in the remastered version. It is one of those weapons that manages to be both iconic and incredibly powerful at the same time. What makes Umbra such a standout is not just its high damage output, but the fact that it fills soul gems automatically when you kill enemies. That means you are basically walking around with your own personal enchantment battery, as long as you remember to keep some empty soul gems in your inventory. Now, here is the thing. Umbra is not locked behind any major story progression. You can go after it whenever you feel ready, or brave enough. The character who wields the sword, also named Umbra, is no joke, especially at lower levels. But that is part of what makes the reward feel so satisfying. Some players like to wait until they are better equipped, but if you are up for the challenge early on, taking Umbra down can be a real adrenaline rush. And let's be honest, having that sword early changes everything about how you play the game. There is also a little trick you might not know. If you grab Umbra during the Daedric quest for Clavicus Vial, and you do not complete that quest, the sword stays classified as a quest item. What does that mean for you? It becomes weightless. That is right. No extra burden in your inventory, and you get to keep swinging one of the deadliest swords in the game without worrying about space. It is a small detail, but for longtime players, it is a game changer. If you want to find Umbra, head to the Vindasal Ruins. They are located southwest of the Imperial City. Pretty easy to reach if you know where to look. Once you are there, you will find Umbra, the character, waiting. And trust me, she is not just going to hand over the sword. Win the fight, and the blade is yours. Whether you are soul-trapping your way through dungeons, or just want to feel like an unstoppable warrior, Umbra earns its place as one of the best weapons in Oblivion Remastered. When it comes to the best weapons in Oblivion Remastered, there's one that stands out above all the rest: Dawnfang Duskfang. This weapon isn't just another sword. It's a legendary piece of gear that combines unique features and incredible power. The main reason why this weapon reigns supreme is because of its Nourish Blade enchantment. Each time you kill an enemy with it, the sword tracks those kills, and when you reach 12, it upgrades to the superior version. For Dawnfang, this means it starts absorbing health, and for Duskfang, it absorbs magicka. Who wouldn't want to steal health or magicka with every swing? It's a game changer. But that's not all. What makes this weapon even more special is its dual nature. From 6 AM to 6 PM in the game, Dawnfang is active, dealing fire damage to your enemies. But when the clock strikes 6 PM and the night takes over, it turns into Duskfang, and it starts dealing frost damage instead. No other weapon in the game offers this kind of versatility, giving you the ability to adapt your attacks depending on the time of day. Whether you're burning enemies to a crisp or freezing them in their tracks, this sword has it all. Now, you might be wondering how to get your hands on such a powerful weapon. Well, you'll need to complete the Baiting the Trap mission in the Shivering Isles DLC. It's not exactly a walk in the park, but once you finish it, you'll be rewarded with the Dawnfang Duskfang sword, ready to start unleashing havoc. It's definitely one of those weapons that you'll be happy to have in your inventory, especially if you're looking to power up your character. In conclusion, Dawnfang Duskfang is undeniably one of the best weapons in Oblivion Remastered. Its unique enchantments, dual nature, and overall versatility make it a must-have for any player looking to dominate in the game. Whether you're after that extra health boost or want to freeze your enemies in their tracks, this weapon covers all your needs. So, get out there, complete the mission, and start swinging that legendary sword. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.